there's a need for us to cross over to Parliament to get you some updates of what's happening on the floor as we speak, because speaking of representation, the people of Kumawu lost their Member of Parliament, Philip Basoah. Some MPs are on the floor of the House currently eulogizing.
For that matter, on members of Parliament in the plenary. Mr. Speaker, I sat by Honorable Basoah the day before he passed. In fact, I was sitting by him whilst he was having his usual kinky and stuff. We spoke. Little did I know that the following morning he'll be gone. What are we on earth for as human beings? I don't know. But again, it sends a clear signal to us. Mr. Speaker, perhaps this is the fine opportunity to respectfully, I know that is in existence already, but as members of Parliament, are there in place some structures for us by way of counseling, by way of psychologists, by way of a specialist? We have come too far as parliamentarians not to have a hospital of our own, on our own. Maybe the time has come for Parliament as a whole, as an arm of the legislature, to have a hospital built purposely for members of Parliament. I know that may sound a bit discriminatory, but it will be appropriate to have that. Not just the parliamentarians, but the Speaker, we have clerks at table and all who facilitate the work of parliamentary practice. The Speaker, I listened to a post on WhatsApp, and clearly, listening to the post, it tells you that indeed the Honourable Gentleman had problems in his constituency. There was too much pressure and load on him. And I know that quite a number of my colleagues here are experiencing the same. Well, God giveth and He taketh. Mr. Speaker, I'm getting emotional, so I may have to leave. But Mr. Speaker, we wish his family and all in the constituency, in fact, we express our condolences to them, and I pray, Mr. Speaker, that this appeal that I've made will be considered, that Parliament should have a medical facility. Mr. Speaker, on weekends you drive around the car, you have no place even to sit as a recreational center as a member of Parliament. Because you sit somewhere and the next thing you're on the front page. Oh, MP is found here even eating wachi. Mr. Speaker, these two things also helps for one to go there and then ease off the stress. A recreational area for us and a medical facility. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let me come to the ranking.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to add my voice to the statement eulogizing the passing away of Honorable Philip Basoah, the MP for Kumawu, and the chairman for the Committee of Employment, Social Welfare and State-Owned Enterprises. Honorable Basoah was a gentleman's gentleman. He was long-suffering. He was stubborn when it came to protecting the truth. He was unmovable and unshakable, no matter the cabal pitched against him. So strong was Honorable Basoah in his convictions that he became the leader of what others called Basoah and Co. But Basoah believed in consensus building. Indeed, on the committee, Basoah's best friend was Honorable Haruna Idrisu. He will be the first to say, Kwabena, leader says he will be coming. Kwabena, have you reserved some reading material for leader? Where reading material means documents that we work with. But more importantly, Honorable Basoah was willing to learn. We'll get to the committee meeting, and if the subject matter, if we have an SOE in the energy sector before us, he will open the meeting and say, Kwabena, handle them. He will sit down and take notes because he will consider that he was disadvantaged in that sector. He was a leader who gave people the opportunity and the space to operate. Basoah was a gentleman. Basoah represented what I see as the best ethos of politics. Gentle, persuasive, long-suffering, persevering, but committed to a cause. When I read the press release by the MPP that MPP flags should fly at half-mast across all MPP offices, I saw that as a vindication for a man who had been so badly persecuted by people who did not understand him. In death, he won the battle of honor. In death, he won the battle of integrity. In death, Basoah showed us that ultimately no political cabal will succeed if we are strong, if we are committed, and if we are loyal to our party. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Thank you.
I'm taking 1-1 and okay, Okankwe Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I pray this glory, in place. I'm on my feet. I'm speaking to the chair, please. I'm very serious. Mr. Speaker, paying this glowing tribute to my brother, my client, my friend, and above all, my brother-in-law. Basoah was my akunta. That's how I referred to him. And truly, he was my akunta. Raso Kumawu. And a lot of things in common. There was not a single time I would drive through Bompata I will go and not stop at Kumawu and eat my ampesi with him. You always find him at the late BMS's residence, waiting for you, prepared his ampesi with some soup, and calling you on your way from Accra. Now we're drinking. Oh, I just got to Adonfe. I'll just join you in 30 minutes. The Speaker, let me read a message to you from his PA when he fell ill. Hello, Honorable, good morning. Doctors say, I'm just quoting, doctor says there is now more oxygen flowing through the body. That is an improvement from the level from yesterday. So we are still hoping that there is a continuous upward trajectory. However, they insist no visitors for now. We kept on pursuing a good cause to save our brother's life. We kept on praying. I left the chamber, all of us left on Friday early morning. You and I were in Kumasi for Sir Dennis's wife's funeral. So I was always in touch with the PA and the brother. The Speaker, Kumawu has gone through a lot in our politics. Majority Leader, I'm sure, will contribute from Rio Adai Basoah's time to Yaba to Philip Basoah and the troubles in Kumawu politics. And in the midst of all this happening was our good brother Philip Basoah, who was the DC under President Kufuor's time. The Speaker, question is whether Maya Punta enjoyed his life as a politician, as an MP. You all saw what happened to him during the selection of DC. We all saw that. He harbored a lot of pain. His wife was not feeling too well. He always had to leave the kids, school, come and spend time in Accra, and what have you. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the 2020 elections of Kumawu, whilst Nana Akufo-Addo, President of Ghana, was gathering over 80.6% of the votes, my brother was raking around 51% of the votes in Kumawu. Independent candidate was able to win not less than 11,000 of the votes. Basoah only clinched 14,000. Mr. Speaker, our brother went through a lot in Kumawu. And I believe that we ought to be fair and be candid with what we speak about on this sad day. Mr. Speaker, my dear sister from Dravin could not end her contribution because she knows what I'm talking about. So there isn't much I would want to say but to wait for the day that will lay our brother to rest and to wish the family well till we meet again. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this tribute to our good friend, Honorable Philip Basoah. Mr. Speaker, this man was a great man in all respects. He was gentle, kind, and considerate in everything he did. And as a member of Parliament, I got to know he was so committed to his constituency and to his party. Mr. Speaker, I got to understand him more than I used to when we traveled together. After interacting for some time, he opened up to me. He told me what was inside him, what was deep inside him, the pain he was going through. Mr. Speaker, at the time I was speaking to him, it did not leave him at all. He felt very bad that he so committed himself to his party, and there were people inside the party that worked against him.
You fear yourself.
It shows that
You fear yourself.
he is a man of character. That despite all the challenges he faced in life, he still was committed. And indeed, he told me he still loved his party and would want to make sure in everything he did, the party will stand first before everything. And it shows that he's exemplary in character, he's exemplary in commitment to a cause, and he can be trusted. He could be trusted with everything that the party wanted to do. And that he wanted to convey this to the people who wanted him down. The Speaker, in his death, he has conveyed it. It shows that people are not changed by externalities which may be working against them. The character of the person is not changed because other people have a different character. It simply means that you strengthen who you are. Mr. Speaker, but the death of this friend of ours shows that we need to do more than we do. And I would like to suggest to you, Mr. Speaker, for it to be made a compulsion that at the beginning of every session, or maybe every sitting, every member of parliament will bring a medical report, comprehensive medical report about himself, so that we know you are fit and strong. These sudden deaths that occur to many of our friends and colleagues is disturbing and should not be allowed to continue if we can avoid it by taking precautions about ourselves. I know that when I came to Parliament the first time, at every sitting, our doctor will come, and it was compulsory for you to do all the checks about yourself. You don't need to present it to anybody, but there was an avenue for you to check everything, especially your internal glands and your prostate for the men. I think it's necessary, and we should go back to it and make sure it becomes part of our lives. Lots of people are dependent on us. The nation itself is dependent on us. So much is invested in the member of parliament to the extent that his life is becoming, or is critical and synonymous to the progress of the nation. Because members of parliament represent the people of Ghana, and our voices represent the totality of the voice of the people. And so care must be taken not just by the status quo, but by ourselves, so that we can live long and do what we are required to do as members of parliament. His death was a big shock. It reminds me of what Shakespeare said about death. There is a brief candle, and that it comes and it goes. The men and women who struts and frets on earth will suddenly leave the earth. The Speaker, we leave the earth, but something remains here. This is the character we bring into being whilst we're alive, what we leave behind as human beings, committed to the causes we belong, and eventually the niche we cut in the totality of society. Remembering our friend and in paying this eulogy to him, we will say that may he rest in peace, and may he be received at the right side of God, so that he would have benefited from all the good he has done. In the end, it is to make sure that the total Ghanaian population live worthy lives. And he did what he did for the people of Ghana, for his constituency, for the Parliament of Ghana, for all of us. And so, Mr. Speaker, may he rest in peace. Thank you.
May I come to leadership? Very well. Okay. Yes, honorable member for Domekwa Binya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will thank the maker of the statement for bringing this statement on the floor. We are all sad by the unfortunate incident of losing a brother, a friend. Honorable Basoah and I entered Parliament the same year, and we actually sat close to each other. He was an advisor. He would be there for you when you need him. He will share constituency issues with you and advise you on the way forward. I think Ghana has lost a great son, and my heart pours out the family of the late Honorable Basoah, the MPP fraternity, and myself and my family. I say so because he would always call my father his uncle. He would always make time for my church invitations and will stay throughout the program with you. This is somebody who cares, somebody you can call a friend, a brother, a husband. And I know that the good Lord will keep him in his bosom. And as the Holy Bible always states, we should always give thanks to the Lord in all situations. And so, Mr. Speaker, what I'll end with my statement is, Demri Fadue, may the soul of our brother rest in perfect peace. I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, honorable leader. Well. Honorable Eric.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also join colleagues in paying tribute to our brother and colleague who exited some few days ago. The Speaker, Honorable Basoah, has been a friend, a brother to all of us. He's a very honest person who wants to be in peace with anybody he comes across. But Mr. Speaker, he has gone through a lot of painful experience, and he's been sharing these experiences with some of us.
It's true.
Mr. Speaker, you are aware that you and Honorable Basoah went through the same ordeal, and therefore you have a practical feel of exactly what he went through. Mr. Speaker, what we must understand as politicians is that life is too short. And so if by the grace of God, you are given the opportunity to lead, let's respect each other. Power will not be with us forever. One day, no matter what happens, regardless of the situation, regardless of the influence, we'll leave power behind. So let's treat our colleagues with some respect, and let's understand that we are all in this struggle for the common good of our people. In fact, it is painful that at the age of 50 plus, we are losing a colleague of his caliber. Mr. Speaker, we also have to look at the pressure that we go through as politicians and the pressure that we mount on our colleagues, even within the same party, needlessly. We have to look at all these things and make sure that, yes, politics is not a vehicle for people to assume power to do the things that they want for themselves, but a vehicle to assume power and then render services to our people. Yes, some few days ago, while I was coming from my office to this chamber, I met my colleague in the corridor. Mr. Speaker, we spoke for some 10-15 minutes, and he shared with me some of the painful experiences he's gone through. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine that as an elected representative of the people, even when the district chief executive of his own district was appointed, he was prevented from participating in the confirmation of the district chief executive? Mr. Speaker, something that ought to have been condemned by this House, but Parliament did not do anything about it. Those who have executive power did nothing about it. Mr. Speaker, this is unfair. And these are some of the things that we must come together as a House and condemn and ensure that discipline in our body politics. Mr. Speaker, I mention you because you also went through the same experience. At some point, you nearly resigned from politics, but God saved you. Amen. We pray that the soul of the departed will rest in perfect peace. The prayer is that may the good Lord protect our brother and give him peace. But Mr. Speaker, what is most critical is the family and the children he has left behind. Is there any arrangement in place by Parliament to take care of the wife and the children? There is nothing. So, Mr. Speaker, normally what happens is that even after the death, immediately after the death, we'll be thinking about by-election without looking at how we can take care of the case, the small ones is left behind. It is about time we put in place mechanisms to support some of these children. Because when you see some of our colleagues out there, sometimes you get worried. Just some 2 months ago, a colleague of us who was here for 3 terms was ill. Mr. Speaker, there was no money, and some of us had to contribute to enable him pay hospital bills. When we are in the House, every day we hear the public talking about MPs are making money, MPs are making money. But when the person leaves Parliament, within 10 days, you see that everything changes. That is the reality of parliamentary life. What they say of us is exactly the opposite of our situation. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is reminding us that regardless of our age and our power or influence, one day we'll also be called to eternity. And so let's put in place measures that will put smiles on the faces of the case and the family that will leave behind. Otherwise, we sit here, talk, express all the ideas as if we are giving the world we can even govern, and eventually leave our families in the situation of everything. So, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and it is my prayer that the good Lord who brought us here and who will call us at the appropriate time will take good care of our colleague, give him a special place in the heavens, and protect the family that he has left behind. And it's my prayer that we all, as politicians, will from today come to the realization that power is just for a short time. And whenever we are given the opportunity, we should treat our colleagues as equal human beings with the same respect, so that all of us will one day, when we appear before the Almighty God, will have something positive. On this note, I wish him very well. Thank you, sir.
Very well. Leader.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to add my voice to eulogize our colleague who departed the earth in circumstances that indeed they shock all of us. Mr. Speaker, in these days of carnage and sundry bestialities, death really no longer agitates most people. However, the sudden transition of the Honorable Basoah did touch the hearts of men and women in this house. The Honorable Basoah most times kept to himself. He was a man who was bearing a very heavy load on his shoulders. He was a man of few words, or one could see in any encounter with him that he was a struggling man, within and without. The Speaker, he was indeed a man of sorrow, a survivor. All manner of conspiracies around him, and yet by kind courtesies of God, he managed to overcome. Here in this house, the Speaker, the then minority leader and I elected to make him the de facto chair of the Special Budget Committee. And he discharged his responsibilities in a very responsible manner. And anytime he had problems, he reclined to us to seek our own advice on the way forward for us. The Speaker, only yesterday, some members from within the group of the Special Budget Committee arrived in Ghana from a trip that we embarked on in Israel, which trip was mooted when he was a de facto chair of the Special Budget Committee. Unfortunately, after the 2020 elections, had to be shifted to the Committee on Employment, Social Welfare and State Enterprises to chair that committee, whilst he left the Special Budget Committee to be chaired by the Honorable Patricia Apieji. The Speaker, I think it's important that I clear this, because the Speaker, in announcing the transition of our colleague, that is, he announced from the chair that the colleague had collapsed. I think it was taken on face value and made to appear as if the man had collapsed in Parliament. And so all news coverage was to the effect that the Honorable Basoah had collapsed in Parliament. Nothing could be further away from that. And indeed, the day when we heard, and some people were suggesting, that if he was stable enough, perhaps we could ferry him to the presence of Parliament to be counted among those who will be voting. I insisted that, not knowing the exact condition. It would be risky to do that because if we brought him and anything happened, it would be attributed to Parliament. The Speaker, we didn't do that. And it's good that we didn't, go on that path. If we had, and the man had transitioned the following day, I shudder to think what would have happened to this house. It would have been disastrous for the image of Parliament that we forced him to come, and then the health status declined, which led to his death. I'm saying nothing of that sort happened. The Speaker, isn't it ironical? Isn't it ironical that when we first came to this house in 1997, the first person who represented the constituency on the ticket of MPP, was one Honorable Basoah, who at a critical time when we had to vote, had to be ferried from 37 military hospital to this house to participate in the voting. Not too long thereafter, the Honorable Basoah transitioned. There was a by-election which the Honorable Yaban won and came to Parliament. Then another Basoah comes to replace Yaban, and that Basoah also transitions midstream the performance of his duties in this house. The Speaker, that is perhaps a paradox that may be difficult to unravel. Mr. Speaker, today the family came to formally inform us about the transition of the Honorable Basoah, which is what has occasioned the tribute that's been paid in his honor by the tribute which has been paid by the Honorable Dr. Nyako, the MP for Kwadaso. Mr. Speaker, it's important that this information came to be passed to us because the House we are adjourning today. And upon adjournment, we may not perhaps come back. Within 60 days of the transition, the amendment that was effected to the Constitution provides, within 60 days of the transition, there must be a by-election. So when the family came and were discussing it, we reminded them that our colleagues on the other side of the political divide, the NDC, will be having their primaries, parliamentary and presidential primaries, on May 13th. Now, the last Saturday, before the expiry of the 60 days then, will be May 20th. And if we want to have the House join ranks to give him a befitting burial and funeral, then perhaps the likely date would be the 20th of May. The family indicated that they're going to process it and get back to us. But I believe that maybe in the final analysis, likely the funeral may hold on the 20th of May, then thereafter the burial service to follow on the 21st of May. So that may be the tentative agreement, but I'm not the family head, Mr. Speaker. I'm just talking about what happened today in our encounter with the family. Mr. Speaker, the affairs of this world are very difficult to comprehend. Knowing what we saw about the man the day before his transition. And one cannot really bring any science to analyze it. One can only hope that this earth will lie gently on him, especially given what we are hearing about the condition of the spouse, based on circumstances. Speaker, maybe this is one case that we have to come together to see how to salvage the situation, even after his own transition. So, My hope and trust is that the spirit will be afforded eternal rest in peace. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Honorable members, since Tuesday.
And so there you have it, the happenings in Parliament. Of course, MPs, they're eulogizing the late Kumawu MP, Philip Basoah. And of course, today is the very last day for Parliament as it rises for the Easter break. We're still keeping our eyes there because there are 3 key revenue measures that are up for discussion. We're not sure, looking at the numbers on the floor of the House, as to whether or not that discussion will even come up or will be considered by the House. But given the fact that it's very crucial to Ghana's IMF bailout, we're expecting that these 3 key tax measures will be considered on the floor of the House today. But a number of MPs raising their concerns about the welfare of parliamentarians, and also the Speaker there and the Majority Leader raising concerns about the health conditions of MPs. The Majority Leader also taking the opportunity there to debunk claims that the MP reportedly collapsed in Parliament. These are some of the issues that we're picking up. We'll be returning to the House to pick up on the updates as far as the 3 key revenue measures are concerned. You're watching The Pulse. We're taking a short break here. When we get back, we'll get into the details. Please stay.